And all your green herbs are very high in chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is plant blood. And the molecular structure of chlorophyll is very similar to the molecular structure of human blood. 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper in a little water and have that just before the meal. Won't it burn? It actually never burns, it just feels like it. It tingles a little bit, but it will also wake up the gastric glands. And it is in that way that you can increase your body's ability to digest.
Did you know that the side effects of medicines are just as much direct effects as the main effect for which a drug is prescribed? These are not just my sayings. Experts have proved them. These are marketed as life-saving things and are doorways to various other health conditions. So to avoid these, we need to devise ways to avoid getting in trouble by consuming these medicines firsthand. And to do this, we have to watch what we eat. Because we humans are what we eat, experts like Barbara O'Neill believe that a carefully designed natural diet is what we need to stay healthy and fit. So, what weeds does Barbara suggest for the diet? How are they naturally protective and superior to various products we consume daily? Most importantly, how will these help us avoid modern medicines and their side effects? Let's dive into the details. Dandelion, nature's multivitamin. Barbara O'Neill explains how one can recognize a dandelion. Its leaves have peculiar jagged edges, resembling a lion's teeth. This feature is the source of the name dandelion, from the French term dent de lion, or tooth of the lion.
And the way to identify dandelion is the lion has sharp teeth. And so on the edge of the dandelion, there's very sharp edges. Now those edges don't look very sharp. I found this one right underneath a bush. And look at this leaf here, it hardly even looks like a dandelion leaf. But if you look closely, you can see those little edges. But I was able to find, it's got a bit of dirt in it. This one was near the front door. And can you see the leaves are very sharp there? And you would wonder if that and that was the same plant, wouldn't you?
Dandelion is a garden herb, and due to its bitter taste, it is considered the king of all garden herbs. The leaves of dandelion are bitter, but they become sweet when put in the mouth. This bitterness is great for the stomach and digestive systems of those who consume it. Barbara widely uses the idiom, sweet to the mouth, bitter to the stomach. She usually says this to refer to the sugar that we consume. Many of us are fond of the sweet taste of sugars, but in reality, it is far worse for our stomach. On the other hand, the dandelion is good for our liver and stomach alike because of its bitter taste. The bitter substance in it helps the release of the enzymes that increase digestion.
And I think dandelion is the king of the herbs in the garden, because dandelion is a bitter herb. If you were to bite it and eat it, it's very, very bitter. And you've heard the old saying, sweet to the mouth, bitter to the stomach. Sweet to the mouth, bitter to the stomach. Think of that.
Dandelion is especially good for the liver, and it has been tested worldwide to analyze its positive impact on it. The liver is a very special organ in the human body that has the ability to regenerate and regain its original form. This self-renewing quality is the reason why one can have a partial liver transplant, as the damaged part of the liver will grow back. The traditional European hot potato salad recipe that O'Neill has provided includes dandelion. The preparation of the salad involves boiling potatoes and then chopping them while they are still hot. They are then stir-fried with chopped dandelion, olive oil, crushed garlic, and salt with the hot potato chunks. By doing so, the flavor of the potatoes is not overwhelming, while at the same time, the olive oil, garlic, and the slightly bitter element of the dandelion add a lot of depth to the potatoes, turning it into quite a delightful dish. A friend of O'Neill consumed this salad every day. She has been traveling through Europe, and she claimed that she felt her iron level enhanced due to the influence of the dandelion.
Iron problems. She said, I had no iron challenges when I was in Europe. She said, I think it's because I was eating the hot potato dandelion salad every day.
Besides eating fresh and raw dandelion leaves, usually in salads, the root part of the dandelion can be baked and utilized as a coffee substitute. This roasted dandelion root, which is called dandelion coffee, can be purchased in specialty shops selling health products. Other specialty drinks include chai dandelion. This is because chai dandelion is not just a drink, but has a rich taste incorporating dandelion with other herbs and spices. Although chai tea has tannins and caffeine in it, chai dandelion is a tasty and nutritious product in contrast to the usual chai tea. Stinging nettle, mineral powerhouse. According to Barbara O'Neill, when the English people initially colonized Australia, stinging nettle beds were a common sight in English settlers' cottage gardens. Raw stinging nettle was eaten similarly to spinach, though now this plant has many applications in cooking. When preparing it, one has to cope with the nettle by wearing thick rubber gloves, because after touching it, one is penalized with a sting. The nettle may be chopped up and consumed in soups where it softens, and in the process, the sting is neutralized.
The nettle is also reported to help with the inflammation of the prostate gland.
At the same time, stinging nettle and dock are very similar and are often found growing next to each other. Aside from this, one can alleviate the sting of one using the leaves of a dock plant. When weeding, it is possible to accidentally touch the stinging nettle, whose sensation can be relieved by rubbing the dock leaves on the area.
So why would you use stinging nettle? Stinging nettle's roots go deeper than any other root. And because the roots go so deep, they are able to access minerals way down deep in the earth.
Stinging nettle penetrates deeper into the ground and thus can pull nutrients from a much deeper level than a lot of other plants. This depth makes the nettle full of minerals, and for this reason, it has a dark green color. The darker the green, the higher the minerals. The intensity of the darkness of the green leaves symbolizes the many minerals they contain. Nettle is also approved for inflammatory conditions of the prostate gland because of its high mineral content. It contains iron in good proportion, and therefore it is greatly recommended for use by those with anemia. Nevertheless, O'Neill points out that a key reason for anemia is the low degree of hydrochloric acid in the stomach. Nettle tea is popular and is recommended in herbal blends marketed for the cure of prostate issues. It is also used to treat anemic conditions by increasing iron in the body. O'Neill adds that many herbs are known to have multiple uses, but it is advisable to focus on particular herbs for particular diseases to obtain the desired outcome. Chickweed, the anti-itch wonder. According to Barbara O'Neill, chickweed very much resembles radium, which causes it to be very hard to differentiate it from the latter. But there are some signs that one can use to identify chickweed among their plants. Originally, this plant had only one root. From this root, the plant grows outward. To control chickweed infestation, you only need to identify the root and physically uproot it completely.
The little thread in the middle is your identifying factor. So that's the main thing with chickweed. It can be eaten. It's got nice array of minerals in it, and it's anti-itch. Now, I have to tell you too that my children were exposed to chickenpox, measles 5 times, and they never got it. We'd get all the chickweed ready, and they would never get it. And I was talking to a naturopath one day. I said, it's really funny, my children keep getting exposed. Everyone gets it, my children don't.
It is not an objectionably bitter plant, which allows its use in salads. It can also be incorporated into soups and stews, and the minerals it carries are delivered to the dish. Instead of stinging nettle, which forms a dark green color due to the many minerals, chickweed has a light green color because it has fewer minerals with its shallow-rooted systems. Spermatophyta, as an herbally used plant, chickweed has been categorized as an anti-itch plant. O'Neill reveals that when the kids in her family were affected by chickenpox or measles, chickweed was prepared to relieve itch. Another use for chickweed is to steep it in hot water to make tea. This tea can be used to fill up ice cube trays and label them as chickweed tea ice cubes. In the same way, it can be applied to the itchy parts of the skin due to the useful ice cubes and anti-itch components of the herb.
So you've got chickweed tea ice cubes. And when someone has an itch, they get that out, and you know what ice will do to itch?
For such illnesses that benefit from baths, you can also prepare a chickweed bath for instances like chickenpox or measles. It is as easy as washing the chickweed and then proceeding to have a bath in it to ease an itching person. Chickweed is also used in cases of psoriasis, which has a yeast overlay in many cases. To prepare a chickweed ointment, put the chickweed in warm coconut oil, which has been placed in a double boiler. Cook chickweed over low heat until the greens turn soft and dark in color. Remove the chickweed. The derived ointment contains anti-itch elements of chickweed with antifungal and anti-yeast elements of coconut oil, making it suitable for skin dysfunctions such as eczema and psoriasis. Sorrel, liver-loving green. Sorrel is an herb distinguished by its arrow-shaped leaves.
Sorrel is one of those green herbs, and there are many of them, that is like a sweet bitter.
This green herb is described as having a sweet bitter taste, with bitterness dominating while chewing yet a sweet aftertaste.
Sorrel is it has those two little lobes at the bottom, and sometimes it'll have another little dip there.
Like most bitter vegetables, sorrel can be health beneficial, especially to the liver. As a general aspect, bitter herbs offer benefits for the liver as they lead to stimulation of liver activity and regeneration processes. Moreover, it is important to note that all green herbs contain chlorophyll, which is called plant blood, since its composition resembles human blood. Chlorophyll and hemoglobin, the protein in the blood that transports oxygen, are almost identical in terms of molecular structure. This similarity is the reason why green plants and green juices help increase iron content in the blood and purify the tissues. It is possible to use sorrel in different ways. It is considered an ornamental as well as a culinary plant for its attractive leaves that can be used in salads due to its slightly sour taste. It can also be added to your green juices and smoothies, thereby adding nutritional value to them as well as increasing the benefits of a cleanse. Sorrel is used in green juices, and these have been credited with their ability to cleanse the blood and the tissues, thereby boosting general health. Sorrel is an herb very rich in chlorophyll that has been known to help detoxify the liver. When taken in its natural state, it increases the level of iron in the blood and purges the tissues. Therefore, it is useful for raising the nutritional value of food and for use in the detoxification process. Comfrey, the rapid healer. According to Barbara O'Neill, one should be careful when using comfrey in one's garden because it is a growth stimulant that tends to cause the plant to spread rapidly. This has been observed to be possibly less prevalent in the colder regions where frost and other winter conditions stop its growth. In winter, its leaves become brown and wither, while the plant basically becomes the root, but it grows again in the early part of the spring.
And so I told her that if I was going to talk about comfrey, I'd need a bit of time. It's a remarkable herb. So we pick the leaves in the spring and the summer, and I dry them till they're totally dried out in a warm oven, and then I pound them up to a powder, and I do that 3 times, so I've got 50 leaves. So in my jar I've got 150 leaves. They come down to a fine powder. The jar's this big, I fill it a third full, then I fill it with olive oil.
It also has a growth stimulant effect on wounds and injuries, resulting in rapid healing. The name derived from it is knit bone, something that has the potential to heal bones, tendons, ligaments, as well as tissues. In spring and summer, the nutritional components gather in the newly formed leaves, which makes the plants effective for use as medicines. For example, during autumn and winter, the so-called healing properties move to the root, so in those particular seasons, the root is used.
It's a remarkable herb because it has a growth stimulant in it. It's got a growth stimulant, it's anti-inflammatory, so it gets the inflammation down, and it's a lubricant.
It is remarkable for its growth and soothing and anti-inflammatory properties. It is very practical for joint and bone injuries and pain. Sometimes its paste is also used for the lubricating effect on the joints. This makes it effective for growth and healing of bone tissues, tendons, ligaments, and skin, making it a powerful herb.
Up the comfrey root every night. Every night we grated up the comfrey root, we made a poultice.
Nonetheless, comfrey is best taken and used externally because of the effectiveness of the growth stimulant found in the herb. It is useful, particularly as a paste, to treat broken bones and other related injuries. Because it grows very fast, it requires special care when growing, as it can choke all the other vegetation and take over your garden. O'Neill's tips for using wild herbs. It is important to use wild herbs properly, and that is why Barbara O'Neill gives the following tips. To begin with, it is vital to assess the proper name of any herb that one intends to use. Incorrect identification can result in the use of plants that might not be the ones required or are toxic to the body. To avoid this, it is suggested to use herb guides or even consult herbalists to be sure of the identification. This step is necessary since there are possible health consequences associated with the incorrect utilization of plants.
And an important part of knowing about your weeds in the garden or your herbs is being able to identify them. But not only that, to know what you do with them.
Another important tip is to begin to use small quantities of the herb that one intends to introduce into the diet to check for allergy reactions. This slow approach enables one to investigate the body's response and determine the impact of the herb gradually. These reactions may be mild or more complicated. Therefore, one should be careful the first time they use a new herb. The idea of taking doses in small amounts is important to build dosage tolerance and avoid any possible allergic reactions. The best use of wild herbs is to take them as a supplement to your daily balanced diet. These herbs can be consumed daily and will improve health and assist in the functioning of the body in many ways. Most of the wild herbs are nutritious, and they also have health benefits, including boosting immunity and supporting the circulation system. Thus, the inclusion of herbs into your regular diet plan would allow you to achieve a range of benefits for your body.
Or lemongrass in, so it doesn't taste too bad. And our guests who come to us to conquer cancer, they drink a litre of that in the day.
If you have come this far, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.